Here's a riddle for you. You've got two retirees with the same average rate of return, the same amount of money to start with, and the same withdrawals. Yet one of them runs out of money and the other one doesn't. How can that be? It's not a trick question. It's called sequence of returns risk. And it's really important to understand because if you're retired and drawing income from your portfolio, it can destroy a retirement plan that looked otherwise perfect on paper. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Martin Cloutier from Prestige Private Wealth Management. Today, I want to walk through a simple example that shows why average rate of returns can be misleading in retirement. On the screen, we have a retiree starting with $500,000 of investable assets. Retirements begin at age 60, and the goal is to draw income from the portfolio over 30 years up to age 90. We're comparing two different paths. The first retiree earns 8% per year steady every single year. No bad market surprises, just a smooth 8% year after year. The second retiree also averages 8% over the full period, but the returns don't happen in a straight line. In year one, the portfolio is down 20%. In year two, it's down 5%. Later on, returns are stronger, so the average is still 8%. Again, same starting point, same withdrawals, same average return, but look what happens. In the steady return scenario, the portfolio is gradually drawn down and is designed to last till age 90. But in the second scenario, where the bad returns happen early, the plan runs into trouble, lots of trouble, much sooner. In this example, the portfolio runs out at about age 78, even though the long-term average is still 8%. That's the key lesson here. The average return didn't save the second retiree because bad returns arrived at the wrong time. When you're still working and contributing to your portfolio, market declines can be uncomfortable, but they're usually a lot easier to manage. In fact, you can benefit from buying investments at lower prices when markets are down. But in retirement, things are different. Cash flows are reversing. You're no longer putting money in, you're taking money out. So if markets fall early in retirement and you still need income, you could be forced to sell investments while they're down. And that means fewer dollars invested for an eventual recovery. That's why the first 5 years of retirement are so important. A rough market early in retirement can have an outsized impact on the rest of your plan. If your portfolio has a bad year at, let's say, age 88, it might be uncomfortable, but much of the retirement journey is already behind you. If that same bad year happens at age 61 or 62, right after you retire, it can affect the entire retirement income plan. That is sequence of returns risk. And it's one of the reasons retirement income planning is not the same as investment management. Investment management asks, how should the portfolio be invested? Retirement income planning asks, how do we turn this portfolio into reliable income without creating unnecessary risk along the way? Those are related questions, but they're not the same question. You may have never been told this before, but a portfolio that may be perfectly reasonable for someone who's still working may not be structured properly for someone who's retired and drawing income. The portfolio might hold some of the same investments, sure, but they need to be designed and staged differently. The portfolio needs to be approached differently because the purpose has changed. It's no longer just about accumulation, it's about timing. It's now about turning the portfolio into reliable retirement income. That's where a cash flow wedge or cash wedge can be very useful. I have another video on how to create a cash wedge and why it matters, but the basic idea is simple. You want a portion of your portfolio set aside in something more stable and predictable so that if markets go down, you're not forced to sell longer-term investments at the wrong time. For some retirees, that may mean having 1 to 3 years of retirement income set aside in a more resilient part of the portfolio. The exact amount, of course, will depend on your situation, but the purpose is the same, to create a steady source of income while the rest of the portfolio has time to ride out the storm. Because the real danger is panic selling. You don't want to sell low just because next month's retirement paycheck is coming up. The goal is to buy low and sell high, not sell low because your income wasn't properly planned and designed. Another way to think about this is a bucket system. You might have one bucket for short-term income needs and one bucket for medium-term stability and one bucket for longer-term growth. The medium bucket and long-term bucket can handle more volatility because you're not relying on them for immediate income. My dad used to say, if you put 1 foot in a bucket of really cold water and 1 foot in a bucket of really hot water, on average, you're comfortable. Now, in reality, you're not comfortable at all. That's the problem with averages. They can make things look fine on paper, but the real life experience is completely different. That's why the short-term bucket needs to be more secure. The bucket that you're going to be dipping into for the next few years, and that short-term bucket can give you the sleep well at night feeling. And yes, part of your portfolio may be down, but the next few years of retirement income are already accounted for, so you don't have to worry. Now, some people hear that and say, why not just keep everything in GICs? I don't want to deal with market risk at all. And I get that feeling because nobody enjoys seeing their portfolio go down. But that can create other risks. If everything is in GICs or very conservative investments, your return might just be too low. You might face inflation risk where the cost of living rises faster than your money grows. And if the assets are in non-registered accounts, the interest income can also be tax inefficient. You might also face longevity risk, which is the risk of outliving your money. And unless moving back in with the kids is part of the plan, and I'm guessing for most people, it's not, longevity risk matters. So the answer is not to avoid risk altogether. The answer is to properly manage your portfolio. You still need growth, but you also need structure. You need return, but you also need a withdrawal strategy. You need long-term discipline, but you also need short-term flexibility. The key, like so many things in financial planning, is balance. So look at yourself in the mirror, put on your serious financial planning face, and ask yourself, how much of my retirement income needs to come from my investments? How much flexibility do I have if markets fall early in retirement? Am I relying on an average rate of return assumption, or do I have a real withdrawal strategy in place? Could a bad first 5 years change the outcome of my plan? And how would I know if that were to happen? Because the worst time to build a strategy for the market decline is in the middle of a market decline. That's when emotions are high, confidence is low, people are heading for the hills, and every headline sounds like it was written by someone running around with their hair on fire. That's exactly when people are more likely to make decisions they regret. The table we looked at today is not meant to predict the future, it's just simply meant to show you the risk. Average returns can hide real problems, and in retirement, the order of returns can be the difference between a plan that works and a plan that fails too early. At Prestige Private Wealth Management, our role is to simplify complexity. Clients don't need more noise. We already have enough to distract us. Clients need clear guidance that they can trust. Sequence of returns sounds technical, but as you've seen, the lesson is simple. In retirement, timing matters. It's not enough to ask, what return did I average? You also need to ask, when did those returns happen? And what was I doing with my money at the time? As I've said before, the best strategy is not always the one that looks great on paper. It's the one that you can live with, the one that gives you confidence, flexibility, and peace of mind. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who might benefit from the conversation. And if you want help assessing the quality of your cash wedge or figuring out if you have one at all, book a free coffee call using the link below. At the end of the day, financial planning is about building a life that works. And that's how we're helping you to live for today while planning for a better tomorrow.